guys, it's Mrs. Ali again. I've just had my tea, so that's why I'm 1 minute late, because I was rushing through washing my plate. I hope you've all had a lovely day. I had pizza for my tea. I wonder what you guys had. I hope you're all ready for bed and ready to snuggle down, ready for a story. It's a bit of a long story tonight. It's Burglar Bill, as promised. And this was chosen by a little girl in my class whose name starts with an E and her second name starts with an S. So this is for you, and I hope you enjoy. Burglar Bill lives by himself in a tall house full of stolen property. Every night he has stolen fish and chips and a cup of stolen tea for supper. Then he swings a big stolen sack over his shoulder and goes off to work stealing things. Every morning, Burglar Bill comes home from work and he has stolen toast and marmalade and a cup of stolen coffee for breakfast. Then he goes upstairs and sleeps all day in a comfortable stolen bed. One night, Burglar Bill is working in a little street behind the police station. Probably not a good place to work if you're a burglar. When he comes to the first house, he climbs in through the bathroom window and shines his torch around. "That's a nice toothbrush," says Burglar Bill. "I'll have that." And he puts it into his sack. When he comes to the second house, he climbs in through the kitchen window and shines his torch around. "That's a nice tin of beans," says Burglar Bill. "I'll have that." And he puts it into his sack. When he comes to the third house, he climbs in through the bedroom window and he shines his torch around. "That's a nice hat and a coat and a pair of trousers and socks and shoes," says Burglar Bill. "I'll have them." And he puts them into his sack. When he comes to the 16th house, that's how many houses he's burgled, he stops. There on the front step is a big brown box with little holes in it. "That's a nice big brown box with little holes in it," says Burglar Bill. "I'll have that." In the distance, the town hall clock strikes 5. "Right, it's time to stop work," says Burglar Bill. He swings the sack over his shoulder, picks up the box and goes home to have breakfast. After breakfast, Burglar Bill plays with his cat by the fire. Suddenly, he hears a voice. "Sounds like a police car," says Burglar Bill. But the noise isn't coming from the big brown box, and it's getting louder. Oh, the noise is coming from the big brown box, sorry. "It sounds like 2 police cars," says Burglar Bill. He creeps up to the box and he raises the lid. "Well, blow me down," he says. "It's not a police car, it's a baby." Look, it's a baby in the box. Burglar Bill puts the baby on the table. "What was you doing in that box, baby?" he says. And the baby only carries on crying. "All alone," says Burglar Bill. He pats the baby's little hand. "An orphan." But the baby only keeps on crying. Then Burglar Bill says, "I know what you want. Grub." Burglar Bill gives an apple to the baby, but the baby still cries. He gives a slice of toast and marmalade to the baby, but the baby still cries. He gives a plate of beans and a cup of tea to the baby. The baby eats the beans, throws the cup of tea on the floor, and starts to laugh. "That's better," says Burglar Bill. "I like a few beans myself." Burglar Bill sits by the fire and wonders what to do. The baby is crying again. He gives the baby a football to play with. The baby throws the football at the cat and keeps on crying. He gives the baby a book to look at, and the baby bites a hole in the book and keeps on crying. He sings a song and plays the piano to the baby, but the baby cries louder than ever. He falls off the piano stool and bangs his nose on the floor. The baby laughs and shouts, "Again! Again!" "Again?" says Burglar Bill. He rubs his nose. "I didn't want to do it the first time." And he's at the piano, and now it looks like he's singing him a song. It says, "For he's a jolly good fellow." We know that song, don't we? Burglar Bill bounces the baby on his knee. "So you can talk," he says. "Say, Burglar Bill." "Burglar Bill," says the baby. "Say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper," says Burglar Bill. "Burglar Bill," says the baby. Suddenly, Burglar Bill feels his knee getting wet and he smells a smell. "Pooh," he says. "I know what you want." "Pooh," says the baby. Burglar Bill changes the baby's nappy. He doesn't have another one, so he uses an old bath towel instead. "Say, for he's a jolly good fellow for changing my nappy," says Burglar Bill. I think the baby probably said, "Burglar Bill." Burglar Bill plays with the baby and shows it round the house. He feeds it again, changes its nappy again, washes its clothes and hangs them off a line in the kitchen. When night comes, he takes the baby for a walk in the park. "Say, run for it." "If you see anybody," says Burglar Bill. "Run for it," says the baby. At 12 o'clock, Burglar Bill comes home, puts the baby to bed and goes to bed himself. Soon he is snoring softly and dreaming of his childhood days. Suddenly he wakes up. Downstairs, there is a noise. It's a noise that Burglar Bill has heard before. The noise of someone opening a window and climbing in carefully. "Blow me down," says Burglar Bill. "I'm being burgled." Burglar Bill creeps to the top of the stairs. Down below, a torch is shining and a voice says, "That's a nice umbrella. I'll have that." Burglar Bill creeps down the stairs and the voice says, "That's a nice tin of beans. I'll have that." Burglar Bill creeps along the hall and into the kitchen and the voice says, "Oh, that's a nice date and walnut cake with buttercream filling and icing on the top. I'll have that." Burglar Bill puts on the light. Look who's there. It's a burglar, but it's a lady burglar. There, with a black mask over her eyes and her hand in the bread bin, stands a lady. "Who are you?" says Burglar Bill. "Well, I'm Burglar Betty," says the lady. "Who are you?" Burglar Bill puts on his own mask. "Oh," says Burglar Betty, "I know you. It's Burglar Bill. I seen your picture in the Police Gazette." Then he says, "Look here, I'm ever so sorry breaking in like this. If I'd have known..." "Oh, don't mention it," says Burglar Bill. He holds out his hand. Pleased to meet you." "Likewise, I'm sure," Burglar Betty says. Burglar Bill makes a jug of cocoa and opens a packet of ginger biscuits. The two burglars sit round the kitchen table. Are you married, Bill?" says Burglar Betty. "No," says Burglar Bill. "The right woman just never came along." He offers the biscuits to Burglar Betty. She takes one and dips it in her cocoa. "Only, I just wondered," she says, "seeing these baby things." "Oh, I've got a baby," says Burglar Bill. "I found it on the doorstep in a box." "In a box?" says Burglar Betty. "Yeah, that's right," says Burglar Bill. "A big brown box with little holes in it." "A big brown box with little holes in it, says Burglar Betty. Yeah, that's right, says Burglar Bill. Well, blow me down, says Burglar Betty. That baby's mine. The two bears hurry upstairs to the baby's room. That's him, says Burglar Betty. She swings the baby in the air. You see, he's got this little birthmark on his leg. And these are his own little clothes as well, what his grandma knitted him. She must be so pleased to get her baby back. Look how happy she looks. And the baby's sleeping in the drawer. He looks quite comfy in there, though. Burglar Bill's made him a lovely bed in the drawer. Back in the kitchen, Burglar Bill makes a fresh jug of cocoa and opens a packet of arrowroot biscuits. Meanwhile, Burglar Betty tells him how she lost the baby. You see, I just left him on the doorstep for a minute while I was burgling the house, and when I come out, he was gone. I thought the police had got him. I only thought it was a useful sort of box, she says Burglar Bill. I never knowed there was a baby in there until I got home. Burglar Betty gets ready to leave. I suppose your husband will be glad when you get back, says Burglar Bill. No, he won't, says Burglar Betty. I don't have a husband. She dabs a little hanky to her eyes. You see, I'm a widow lady. Burglar Bill walks through the town with Burglar Betty and the baby. You know, Betty, he says, getting burgled like that gave me a fright. I know what you mean, says Burglar Betty. Losing my baby like that gave me a fright. I can see the error of my ways, says Burglar Bill. I've been a bad man. Me too, says Burglar Betty. I've been a bad woman. I've been a terrible woman. Just then, the baby starts to cry. Shh, says Burglar Betty. You'll have the police after us. Burglar Bill looks over his shoulder. From now on, I'm going to lead an honest life, he says, and all them things that I've pinched, as well, says Burglar Betty. All them things, says Burglar Bill. Mine and yours, Betty. We're going to take them back. I'll hold the book a little bit closer so you can see. Look, Burglar Betty's putting a hat back through somebody's window there. They're putting fish back in the pond. Someone's pot. They're returning a pot. Someone's returning a toothbrush. I think that's Burglar Bill because he stole the toothbrush in the beginning of the story. Oh, look, they've stolen a policeman's hat. He's returning that. Returning an umbrella. A piano. And somebody's fish off a display as well. Goodness me, they've stolen so many things. And that's just a few of the things they've stolen. They have been bad. So Burglar Bill stops being a burglar. And after a time, he starts working as a bread man in the local bakery. Burglar Betty stops being a burglar as well. When spring comes, she sells her house and gives the money to the Police Benevolent Fund. Then she gets married to Burglar Bill. Look, that's their wedding. Doesn't she look pretty? And Burglar Bill looks very smart too. Outside the church, Bill stands with the baby in his arms. Say, Bakery Bill. Bakery Bill, says the baby. Say, for he's a jolly good fellow for marrying my mum, says Bill. Say, for she's a jolly good fellow for marrying him, says Betty. And in the distance, the town hall clock strikes 4. Bill, Betty, and the baby leave the church, walk down the little street behind the police station, and go home to have their tea. And that's the end. And look, there's Bakery Bill now. He's not Burglar Bill anymore. And look at the wonderful bread that he's baked. I baked some bread the other day, and I can see on Seesaw that some of you have been baking as well. Even more cupcakes, and I saw that somebody today had been baking cookies as well, and they looked really, really scrummy. Okay, guys, I will be back tomorrow for another bedtime story, and that one will be the last one before we break off for our Easter holiday. So I'll have to think long and hard about which story it is I'm going to choose for tomorrow. I'll try and make it a really good one. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Good night.